guest who's on civil here.
Maroof and Secy.
Arnab, apart from all the data that you've given, let me give 2-3 interesting facts.
I don't want to hear the
one is
Mr. Maroof. He's a scared Muslim.
Mr. Kasuri, Maroof is a proud Indian.
Arnab, shut him off.
With him. Don't. He's
Arnab, get him off your channel.
Mr.
Kasuri, please leave the channel if you don't have the civility to accept other people's views. I've had enough of your completely demented point of view. You don't even represent Pakistani viewpoint. You are an absolute embarrassment to the international community and to the people of Pakistan. Please don't comment if you don't have facts to speak. Let me give you some facts. As per your 1974 constitution, Mr. Kasuri, listen to me. Mr. Kasuri, listen to me. As per your 1974 constitution, if anybody from so-called Azad Kashmir expresses any view other than support for Pakistan, you will try him for treason. You don't even have the grace. You don't even have the grace to allow people a second point of view. Secondly, let me ask you one thing. You keep saying...
Let General Qureshi or Abid Rao take that. Mr. Kasuri, Mr. Kasuri, make your points, but in a civil manner.
The other point,
without getting personal on this channel.
I just want to give a quick point. Everybody who's watching the show should switch their internet on and look at the UN resolution of 13th August 48 and ask themselves who did not implement it. Pakistan didn't implement part 2, therefore the plebiscite could not be held. Why are these guys all the time going on and on like a tired record trying to tell us that we have not implemented the UN resolution? Have they even read it? Read the UN resolution and then get back to us.
Simla Agreement. Or for that matter, the Simla Agreement, Abid Rao.
Simla Agreement is very clear. It's a bilateral issue.
Well, and it does.
And Pakistan's Prime Minister Bhutto, who they all revere, was a signatory to the Simla Agreement.
Yes, General Qureshi. General Qureshi, you can respond now.
You see, you're talking about bilateral issues, you're talking about the UN resolution, and you need to read it carefully. We've read it very carefully. And
Sir,
when you say that Pakistan did not implement part 2 of the resolution, I think you need to revisit and reread it. One. Secondly, if you're saying that it's a bilateral issue after the Simla Agreement, why isn't India willing to talk about it?
No,
then?
sir, which part? No, which part of the UN resolution and the Simla Agreement?
And India
no, which part of the UN resolution and the Simla Agreement?
You come up and say, sir, that secretary level talks have been cancelled. Now you see, your issue is that when I start answering your question and you don't want to listen to that
answer. Sir, your answer will be long. You answer a specific counter question.
You start interrupting.
Sir, I asked you one question. You still haven't answered it.
I don't stop talking.
Sir, you still haven't answered my first question. What was the pressing need? What was the pressing need to have discussions a few days before the Foreign Secretary level talks? Give me a clear answer to that, sir. General Qureshi, give me a clear answer.
Of the Indian government to react the way it has done.
Really? Just because we have not for such a long time, Maroof?
If you think...
Why not?
If you think...
General Saab, why not? General Saab, why not? Which other country... General Saab, which other country in the world... General Saab, which other country in the world, including your patron saint United States, talks to sponsors... General Saab, which country in the world, including United States, talks to sponsors of terror? You sponsor, you harbor, you support terror groups. You expect us to continue to suffer that?
If that is how you want to continue,
sir, it will hurt you. It will not hurt us. Believe me, this is the start. This is the start of a new era.
Sir, talking to separatists...
Your poverty-stricken people in India.
Mr. Kasuri, forget it, please. Mr. Kasuri, talking to separatists, and by the way, we can have a serious discussion. We can have a... You make personal remarks, you pull a Hindu-Muslim angle, and you talk about disrespect to in that callous manner about Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Mr. Kasuri. I am really sorry.
But you are basically a Brahmin democracy.
Mr. Kasuri, our Prime Minister is elected by the people and not controlled by the army. And General D Bakshi now wants to respond to you. General Bakshi.
You know, Arnab, our Pakistani interlocutors are stuck on a broken record of Kashmir. may I point out to them in all humility that the world is sick and tired of your revisionist agenda. It is only there so that the Pakistan army has a rationale, as a raison d'etre, to maintain its centrality in the polity in Pakistan. You know, they call themselves the defenders of the ideological frontiers. They are just not willing to get real. That is the problem. The rest of the world is sick and tired. Sick and tired of your rantings and ravings on this issue. Nobody else is interested. Let me assure you, the world has moved on. For God's sake, the world has moved on. You know, you were supposed to vacate Pakistan-occupied Kashmir for whatever else was to follow. You did not. It's all over. Period. Then we had the Simla Agreement. You know, you agreed to settle it on a bilateral basis. Now when we make attempts to talk to you bilaterally, what do? You open fire.
I'm sorry.
You open fire, for God's sake. You are a soldier, I am a soldier. I'm telling you, how do you expect us to respond? How do you expect us to respond?
You know, I will continue to ask specific questions.
The whole world is sick and tired of hearing this. If the whole world is India,
General Qureshi,
then maybe.
Absolutely, General Sahab.
But the rest of the world,
General Qureshi,
General Sahab, you go to the UN. People go to sleep when you raise the Kashmir issue.
Listen to facts and the truth.
General Sahab, you go to the UN.
That we say
when you raise the Kashmir, you have on the obsession with Kashmir. You have ignored everything else in Pakistan and your growth, just because you're obsessed with Kashmir. And the tragedy is, every study shows that you will remain obsessed with Kashmir and you will continue to go downhill and expect America to keep bailing you out because you've got those nuclear weapons.
Mr. Kasuri, 1 minute. I want to get Abid Rao in, please. And by the way, Mr. Kasuri, you know, one option for India now is that we can say, you know, what if our envoy wants to meet the Balochistan Liberation Front Commander-in-Chief for talks?
How does Balochistan compare with Kashmir?
Mr. Kasuri, there you are on the back foot. There you are on the back foot.
What about Shia? What about Shia leaders in Gilgit? What about Shia leaders in Gilgit?
So how are
Kashmir,
you?
that is also Kashmir.
By what stretch of imagination?
Where are the Shia leaders of Gilgit? Why don't you let them come out?
Are you comparing Kashmir with Balochistan, where you are interfering, by the way?
Not at all. But what about Northern Territories? That's all the erstwhile state of Kashmir.
So,
disputed matter.
You know,
no question
General
of
Qureshi,
Balochistan pending in the United
General
Nations.
Qureshi,
There is
Mr. Kasuri,
standing before the United Nations, and the United Nations is committed
I understand,
to hold free and fair plebiscite.
You see, what happens is
the Wilsonian democracy, which is the highest form of democracy.
Sir, you know, the world has moved on now. So move on.
Woodrow Wilson, who is the President of the United States.
General Qureshi, it appears to me, with utmost respect to you, with utmost respect, it appears to me, General Qureshi has neither read the Simla Agreement nor knows a line of what the UN resolution said.
Absolutely.
But that's beside the point. He has, General Qureshi, you have no idea about these two agreements.
This is what
not
you say.
one. Not one. But I don't want to get into prehistory. I want to be in the present. My question to Mr. Air Marshal Abid Rao is, I can understand your desperation, Mr. Air Marshal Rao. You want to somehow internationalize the Kashmir issue, but do you not believe that Barack Obama snubbed you?
Refusal to talk.
Sir, Barack Obama.
Makes us desperate.
Sir, did Barack Obama snub Pakistan in 2012?
Arnab, will you give chance to some other people also to speak?
After that? Have all your attempts to internationalize the Kashmir issue not failed? Mr. Abid Rao, that you think this petty small attempt of trying to speak to some separatist leaders with your envoy at the Pakistan High Commission will get you some attention?
We met these people in continuation of what has been happening in the past.
And you got away with it. You won't
now.
now.
In New Delhi, in Indian capital. We haven't met them in Mogadishu or some other secret place. Number one. It has happened in the past. It has happened now.
It's not going to happen now. That's the point. It's a moment of
international affair. No.
So because you have done...
There's nothing new in it. You have just said Hina Rabbani Khar met, then another Abbas Jilani met these people.
It seems that
What is new about it?
Mr. Abid Rao,
India
Mr.
only
Abid
has
Rao.
one weapon. Let me tell you one
Mr.
thing.
Abid
I
Rao.
want to tell you one thing.
No,
one day you will come to Pakistan to talk about Kashmir and peace with Pakistan.
Mr.
Let me
Abid
tell
Rao,
you this.
Mr. Abid
One
Rao,
day you will have to come to talk.
These
You
empty
keep
threats,
considering, from Mr. Nehru down to Mr. Modi, we have been used to all this. It is one of your usual threats. It doesn't upset us at all, as General Rashid said.
It's not a threat.
We are at peace with ourselves. We are a democracy of whatever type.
Your
We are happy with that.
Your policies are all based on past experience. Therefore, you continue to repeat the same mistakes.
Kashmir issue is a nuclear flashpoint.
What are you doing? What are you doing? You're doing the same thing. Since 1948, you have been slipping. And you have a tendency of giving wrong examples. Balochistan is a settled area with Pakistan.
There you get touchy, aren't you, sir? So why are you getting touchy about Balochistan?
So what about...
Why do you get touchy about Balochistan? Yes, GD Bakshi has a point. GD Bakshi.
Marshal Saab, what about your limiting the rights? What about your limiting the rights of Kashmiris in your part of Kashmir?
Is at peace.
We are talking to these Kashmiris because there are three partners to this issue.
With your neighbors.
One is India, one is
Please see what is happening with Afghanistan. Please see what is happening with India. Please see what is happening with Iran. I think you need to reflect.
We are saying that. We are saying that.
You need to reflect.
I mean,
you may be at peace with yourself as you claim. I don't think so.
C Singh.
I don't think so.
C Singh.
No such
Afghanistan, but you are definitely not
isolated like no.
Okay, 1 second, gentlemen.
I said
all your neighbors.
I have grown up hearing this word of a two-tongue. Mr. Swaran Singh saying that if it was your true tongue, by now it should have been. You should have been at peace.
After
not been worried at all.
you are seeing the beginning of your isolation.
Marshal Rao, I don't want to get into the absolute details on the program, but I strongly believe that it would be good for you to please go through the Simla Agreement, which had said that you will respect each other's national unity, territorial integrity, political independence and sovereign equality. Now you can turn around and say that you did that when you fell from grace in your weak moment after being thrashed in the 1971 war. But the fact is you did sign on that dotted line. You need to now respect that. You can't turn around and say since then we have become a terrorist state and we don't want to believe in what Mr. Bhutto signed on.
We want to resolve it with India.
Sir, I'm showing you chapter para verse of the Simla Agreement. I'm reading the Simla Agreement for you. Have you no respect for it? Have you no respect for the agreement you signed?
For all mutual agreements.
It's a mutual agreement, then you violate the Simla Agreement by talking to the separatists.
It's a flashpoint between India and Pakistan after both countries became nuclear powers.
Sir, trying to appear to engage in dialogue with people who do not respect the sovereignty of India and who are known secessionists is false, out of line with the Simla Agreement. Please check your facts, Mr. Marshal Rao. Please check your facts. I can read it out to you. Unlike you, I don't go by rhetoric.
Respect for the sovereignty of Pakistan? What are you talking about, Arnab? I think you totally forget what you've been doing. East Pakistan became Bangladesh because of India, because of India's interference.
And what about your genocide, sir? What about your genocide
of Pakistan? How do you forget that? Close your eyes to it and just remember
Arnab,
only that part
Arnab,
which seems to suit you.
Sir, please.
General Qureshi has such a selective view of history that it's an embarrassment.
Army did in Bangladesh.
C Singh is being... No, 1 second. General Bakshi.
Hamudur Rahman Commission.
What the Indian Army...
Mr. Kasuri, I'm asking C Singh now.
Bangladesh, who were...
Thank you, Kasuri, a minute.
I thought you had forgotten about me.
No, I've not forgotten you. I'm carefully looking at you and I'm seeing that you're staying out from this debate. I understand that. But my question to C Singh, who is a veteran diplomat, is that, sir, apart from all of this, no, what is the long-term diplomatic consequences if India refuses to engage with Pakistan on these grounds, which are very substantial grounds? What are the diplomatic consequences for Pakistan? Casey.
Nothing.
Arnab, excellent question. Finally, you come to the real question. Let us deal with facts, because we are not going to be able to convince our Pakistani friends about our version of history or our version of Simla Agreement. It's a waste of time. let's deal with what is available from the time Mr. Modi took over in the public domain. The two Prime Ministers of India and Pakistan met on the 26th of May. We were told terrorism was discussed, but Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif did not meet the Hurriyat. Now, it is imaginable that that was a precondition that India had put at that stage, and Prime Minister Sharif respected it. Was it also conveyed to him that this should be continued in the future? I don't know. But I would imagine it would be the Indian expectation that the same behavior will continue at lower levels. Now, after he returns, his position weakened considerably. It's been weakening by the week. We've seen the 2 rallies proceeding to Islamabad. We've seen him leaning on the army. And then in the last 3 weeks, we've seen the LOC violations go up. And we've seen Nawaz Sharif literally bound to Islamabad and really carring there, worried about Imran Khan and Dr. Qadri. Therefore, the India file has passed to the Pakistani army. Obviously, a precondition was imposed. Kashmir has to be the main issue when the 2 foreign secretaries meet, and we will focus on it. Now, was it a breach of whatever the 2 prime ministers discussed?
Yes.
Our prime ministers not brought it out in the public, but I would imagine there would have been some discussion between them and some understanding. Where I think an element of surprise has come in, because this issue never came out in the public, that Pakistan will henceforth
But there might have been a gentleman's agreement,
approach the Hurriyat, because this is a new red line. This is not an old Indian red line, because in the past we have objected, we have protested, but these meetings have taken place both during NDA 1 and UPA 1 and 2.
Simple.
Therefore, the surprise element was only this, that why it happened so suddenly.
Casey,
but I would imagine we are not privy to all the information.
Casey,
so maybe this was an understanding that Government of India had.
Casey,
But now I'm coming to your question. I'm coming to your question. Therefore, now for any dialogue to be resumed in future, this has become a precondition. So Pakistan has to therefore accept or reject this new red line, which is that they have to deal with India and not deal with any member or any Indian living in India, which includes the Hurriyat leaders. Or it can deal with Indian permission with whoever we say.
Yeah.
So these are the new ground rules that the Modi government is laying down for resuming discussion. So that is the new red line and the new way that the Modi government, but unfortunately it's a strategic shift which is only visible to us 3 months, almost 3 months into this government's life. Whereas if they had done it gradually, both public opinion here and Pakistan would have been prepared for it.
Of people of occupied Kashmir.
Sir, if you're so sincere about occupied Kashmir, since China has grabbed a certain part of it, why don't you have the muster the courage to tell the Chinese to return that? You know, please, occupied Kashmir is on your side. My only question is reasonably, please tell me, reasonably, how do this, this man Gilani, you must have obliged him in many ways, Shabir Shah and Mirwais Omar Farooq, who are your own mascots. How do they have more legitimacy than the elected representatives of India? People who have never fought an election. You are getting sentimental over them, Abid Rao and Mr. General Qureshi. But tell me, how do they have more legitimacy than the elected government of India? Then otherwise you can say we as a terror state only respect those who are in league with terrorists.
The answer is plebiscite.
Sir, please, sir, revisit history. You are not going to get Kashmir. Just understand that, sir. You won't. That's it. But how do that? My question is specific. How does Gilani have more legitimacy than the government of India? And last time I'm asking for a specific reply from one of our Pakistani interlocutors. You didn't answer when I asked you why you talked now 1 week before, but at least tell me, how in your rational mind does Gilani have more legitimacy than the government of India?
Look,
yes.
This is not the first time that Pakistan...
So you're repeating, but it's not good. My question is, how do they have more legitimacy? Since you are staking the dialogue, you're staking the dialogue process at the altar of these separatists. I'm asking you why you consider them more legitimate than the duly elected government of 1.2 billion people. Give me a clear answer, sir.
Hold on.
Don't prevaricate now.
1.2 billion people have nothing to do with Kashmir.
Really?
You see,
really? So
if
then,
you take out
Indian-occupied
Indian-occupied Kashmir,
you don't need to discuss the matter with India.
There are people who represent the majority of the Kashmiris.
And how, if I may ask, does Gilani represent the majority of Kashmiris?
Ambassador.
How did you decide that?
Which has been...
Arnab, if 1 billion Indians don't have anything to do with Kashmir, how do 150 million Pakistanis have something to do over Kashmir? What has given them the moral right? Because they see it in a Muslim context.
How is that logical?
Come on, sir,
that just
get
because
real.
you have more people in India, you have legitimacy in Kashmir, and since Pakistan doesn't have the 1 billion people that India has,
now you are caught in your own. You are caught in the warp and weft of your own argument.
Jal Qureshi, let me tell you. Let me remind you, sir. Let me remind you. Jal Qureshi, under the rules of partition, under which you were created, so did Kashmir accede to India. So if you don't recognize Kashmir's accession to India, you don't recognize your own creation. You are then a figment of Mr. Jinnah's imagination. You are a figment of Mr. Jinnah's imagination if you don't recognize Kashmir's accession to India. Because under the rule of partition, the Kashmir came to India just as much you were created.
Casey is coming back to the debate. I am going to Casey, please.
How do you question Kashmir's accession to India?
Casey, where do you see this going now? Now, Casey.
Arnab, the right analogy for Pakistan, just a minute, the right analogy for Pakistan, I think we should ask our High Commissioner to meet the Shia leaders from northern areas who have been treated so badly because Pakistan has just artificially cut off that portion of Kashmir. That is a part of Kashmir that we have not paid attention to. Every Indian government has been negligent. We bought into this Pakistani propaganda that Kashmir is only POK in the valley. Kashmir was also the northern areas where they have treated them badly. We and those poor people need to be approached. I think the Indian High Commissioner should meet their leaders. We should really meet their leaders.
I've been saying the same for the last couple of days that we should cultivate our ties with those elements in northern areas that live under Pakistan's jackboot, under Pakistan's constitution of 1974. If anybody expresses
and that is a former part of Kashmir.
Other than joining the Union of Pakistan, he is seen to be doing an act of treason. We allow them to meet Pakistanis, and on the other side, they are seen to be doing treason, even if they think of anything outside the Union of Pakistan. Look at the double standards. Look at their double standards. Expose their double standards.
What about the Naxalites?
I don't know what kind of democracy is India. Sir, talk of people's wish today. They can't do that in Kashmir.
Sir, I think you made an important choice tonight. Till tonight, there was a doubt about whether Pakistan was a failed democracy, a failed republic, and a terrorist state. But today, if you choose not to speak to the government of India, if you choose, and let me repeat once again, it will be on your hands that the failure of the talks will be determined. You have a choice. Get real. Because this government is not going to do biryani diplomacy with you. This government will not do biryani diplomacy with you. You can do it with your own terror groups. Thank you very much for joining me on debate number 1 on the Newshour Tonight.